Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. Welcome to my channel. Happy Mother's Day. Yay! It's the 10th of May and the moon is in Sagittarius, which is good for me as a Sagittarius. So we're going to look ultimately at the week starting today through next Saturday, the 16th of May. So this week I wanted to concentrate on feminine because it's Mother's Day. And so I thought, what better week to pull out the Story Medicine Tarot, which is a very, very feminine deck. I'm also going to work with the Red Seeds Oracles 1 and 2, which I have combined into one giant deck. And the boxes I went ahead and cut up so that I could play with them and journal with them because I want to work with it as one deck. So I'm in the process, since I have the sewing machine out, of getting ready to make a bag. These were sent with the Oracle. And I know the red one's great, but I kind of wanted that kind of pomegranate-y, rich pinky red. So I'm taking the gray, which you kind of can't see, but you kind of can. The gray print version of this one. I've marked where I need to stitch it, to cut it, right, and make it down to size. And then I've got this really beautiful batik fabric that's the color I want to use that I'm going to put on the inside and then like overlap the bag and kind of, yeah. So that's that. So there's no box. And then supposing that it works and that it feels right, I thought too we could work with the Madonnas and Virgins and accompany that one with a Sovereign Oracle. So we'll see, because I never know how many cards are going to pop out of our deck or how the reading's going to go. So I just stack all the decks as much as I can and we proceed from there. So let's go ahead and turn our camera around and begin angling it downward. Here we go. And I've got our lovely candle all lit here. And we will find our Fool from this deck. I keep saying at some point I really want to do a walkthrough of this deck, like an in-depth. I should really not have that right over where the cards are. Yeah, a more in-depth walkthrough. Oh, I had the Fool. She was right on top. Okay. Brain fart. I was like, I know the Fool is in a cave in this one. Yeah, so here we go. There's our Fool. I don't know how the glare is there. There we go. And yeah, we'll go ahead and shuffle her back in and get started. Okay, yeah, big shock. So we remain in the Pentacles pile. It seems like this is going to be a theme, guys. This has been the way it's been for a while. So once again, in the Pentacles pile, we're continuing to address issues of, physical health, physical well-being, finding ways to be in our bodies, to attend to the needs of the body, which is certainly going to be highlighted with this deck. And I think too, we're looking at, always the case of, how does our body, how do we bring intention into the body? How do we join the body and soul together in a way that feels meaningful, productive, helpful, and in such a way that it helps us reground and rebalance the world around us? How do we bring that back into balance and back into a state that feels, relatively livable? And that means attending to money, attending to finances, and just attending to the material, physical world around us. Problems are going to be most easily solved through being physically present, being in the body, and through our senses and through sensing. Again, if you're into Myers-Briggs, this would mean extroverted sensing. So finding ways to engage the senses, breathing deeply, scanning the body, moving, any kind of moving meditation is going to be exceptional right now. So there we go. It's all the usual stuff that we're becoming accustomed to. So let us see. I should have put out a warning at the beginning, and maybe I will have remembered to do this. Some of these cards are, they're kind of challenging because of their graphic nature. If that's something that you feel sensitive to, this may not be a deck that you're okay with. Certainly it's a deck that I found challenging when I first began using it. I tend not to put out nudity alerts, but this one is not just about nudity. It can get very, very sensual and sexual. So kind of ideal for a reading where everything turns up in the Pentacles pile, eh? Okay, so our Fool is up here at the top. Ta-da! And she is worth 3. So 1, 2, 3. Our first, oh boy. Our first, yeah, wow. So our first card of the week is the 8 of Cups. So it's back again. I feel like 8 of Cups has been a big part of things recently, but it may be that it's just coming up in a lot of readings that I've been doing lately. Okay, so 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have the Goddess Mother of Cups. Okay. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh boy, yeah. 6 of Swords. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Daughter of Swords. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hanged Woman. Let's see. Elemental. So 1, 2, 3, 6 of Cups. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're back. So it looks like we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards this week. Nice balance. Really nice balance. So something is being rebalanced and brought back into balance this week. How beautiful. All right, let me double check and we will flip the camera around. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at whew, all of our cards here for the week. It's a little hard for me to see them because everything's so big. So I'm going to be moving around a bit this week, which is great fun. We may have to do a bit of swivel to make sure we get in everything, and I always pick up the cards. We're looking at a lot of water, folks. A whole lot of water. 1, 2, 3. Hanged Woman is water element. And then here at the top, we've got, these 2 swords cards. But what's interesting to me is that the 6 of swords is here. And the 6 of swords is usually it's usually in a boat. So there's usually some water element that's implied somewhere in there. It's so interesting. I'm also curious too, because we have this theme of 6. So we have 6 cards. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 6 of swords on one side, and then we're ending with a 6 of cups, right? So there's another, element of 6 in there. When I think of the number 6, 6 to me, is about, it's going to be about balance. It's going to be about bringing things into balance. The 6 of Pentacles is a card from the Rider-Waite Smith, is a card that's always very close to my mind when I think about the number 6 because of the scales that are in it. And the fact that we're taking, 2 odd numbers and making an even, bringing things into an even balance. But yet it's, when you divide it in 2, 3 is a number where things can be moving. There's the possibility for things to shift. So I feel like that's important to mention here, that it's bringing things into balance, but with, with the intention of bringing them, letting them shift, letting them continue to move and develop and grow. Coming back to that 6 of Pentacles, which is not present here, but yet we were in the Pentacles pile. And we have 6 cards. So on some level here, I feel like we are also bringing in the energy of the 6 of Pence. What I'm seeing here is a need to bring things back into balance through giving and, through offering, receiving. That's going to be part of what we're doing here. Even though, ironically, we're going to shift over this way. We're starting through neither giving nor receiving, but kind of walking away from. I feel like this is a card that's come up a lot lately, and I can't recall if it's come up in one of our readings in the last few that I've done, or if it's simply because it's just come up a lot in client readings lately, a lot. So, obviously making a choice to leave something behind. Yeah, to move forward, to escape from stagnation. I'm seeing stagnation as the key word on the 8 of Dancers. I think that's what it is in the Tarot of the She, because I was working with that earlier in the week. And that one came up a lot. So stagnation, letting go of things that are stagnant, that are holding you back. I'm going to say, as we're dealing with cups and so forth, there's probably a lot of us who have been indulging. I've definitely been indulging. I don't drink alcohol. So indulging for me is like not moving around very much and eating sugar. So I will confess that I am guilty of those things, or responsible for those behaviors. How about that? That's maybe a little friendlier. Maybe a lot of us are. There are things, I think, as we look at our lives in the coming week or so, and it feels like to me like this is something that's been happening. It's not, this is an old energy. This is an energy we've been with, right? This is not new. We're continuing to be in the process of walking away from things that feel stagnant, walking away from things that no longer serve us, letting go or recognizing, areas where we've maybe indulged too much and we need to shift the energy, right? There's also a sense of leaving heaviness behind, 8 full cups of water or 8 full bladders of water, as this is, because these are like those seaweed bulbs that hold water. They would be heavy, right? It's letting go of baggage, emotional baggage that's heavy. And I think too, we're in the body that, this week. So how does emotional baggage, emotional weight, impact your body? This may be a big part of what's going on as well. Moving on, we've got, in the first part of this trajectory, it's interesting because we're starting in a place and finishing in a place and making a journey that ends in another place is what I feel. That's how I'm coming to things, because we have a 6 in the middle and we've got a 6 at the end. So in some respects, there's also a stripping away because we're starting with an 8, but we're finishing on a 6 and it's in the same suit. So something is being stripped away in order that we can discover and figure out where to go next. We can trust our own heart wisdom in all of this. Something that is hard to do, that we struggle with, I think all of us, is being able to stay in the heart and recognize what's coming up in our own heart space and then trust it. To trust that we know what the next step is and what's best for us. And then again, we end up reaching out. And here's where I feel like we're starting to move into this energy of offering and receiving. And I'm just going to move my position here because I'm in an awkward one. Big shock. The 6 of Swords. This is beautiful as a representation of moving on from something difficult to something else. The choice has already been made here, ironically, in this 8 of Cups, right? To move on to something else. By trusting in our own, innate wisdom. As women, our innate wisdom is in our bodies. So again, interesting, Pentacles pile, physical body. This is a really good deck for all of this, obviously. This is the gift of women, that we have as women, is knowing deeply on a very intuitive, very sensual level what our truth is. And as you can see, this woman is one who is able to really honor that. And finding ways to be in touch with that heart space, hold it up as truth, as she's doing here, and then move forward from that space is crucial. I think it's going to lead us in terms of that 6 of Swords and moving on, as it normally is in a, again, like in an RWS deck where we see people moving across a stream, from a difficult place to a much safer one. This is actually stripping away to a place that's really vulnerable. So it's not quite the same on many levels, and yet it carries that essence, right? Because when you look at that card, and in fact, I'm going to go get one. So this is from the Centennial Smith Waite. Yeah, you know, when we think of the Six of Swords, this tends to be an image, you know, or various facsimiles of it that come up. But we've got this person back here who's, you know, not seen. And I've also seen in many different decks, and I was thinking, actually I realize I'm seeing a different deck than RWS, but it's a similar depiction. Like a cloaked figure that's in the boat that's, you know, pushing them forward, which brings to mind, you know, the Isle of the Dead, or you know, the boatman on the river Styx, etc. It's the idea of the darkness, of having something that's out there that is not part of you, that feels separate from you, that you can reach out to in a moment of darkness, right? So when you feel like you're at the bottom, okay, despite, and this may be part of this, right? I think it obviously is. We're being asked to bring in this energy, this heart space energy, and, you know, I think a lot of us are still going to find that even in the midst of that, the need to reach out, you know, to reach beyond ourselves, and into divine space to find what's next is going to be possible. There's a lot of soul searching going on right now for a lot of us. You know, what do I do next? This is a weird, unprecedented time. You know, none of us in our lifetimes have seen anything like this, guys. And regardless of where you sit on a spectrum of any of this, right? I don't know why it's become political. It makes no sense. I mean, in a time where, you know, we need each other so badly, and we just need to heal and find a way forward. Why sickness is something, you know, sickness is impersonal. Illness is impersonal. But somehow we've made it personal. We've done worse. We've made it political as well. It's really scary. It's really scary. So knowing, you know, how do I move forward in the midst of something that feels so dark and unknown? What am I supposed to do next? It does leave us feeling stripped. It does leave us feeling vulnerable. So reaching out, you know, into that void, into that beyond, into that unknown other deity or universe is going to be a way of coping with that vulnerability. And that simple move marks a big shift in the week, right? Or in the energy that we're working with right now, which is arising and most prevalent this week. Okay. So through that simple action, we are put back in a place, back in a place of our own ability to trust in our knowledge, right? In our ability, wow, she's so, you know, she's grounded in the midst of vast space. So it's like somebody turned the light on, you know, in this space, or the sun came up, and she realized she could stand up on top of her, you know, this thing, and it's going to be okay. You know, the space around her is safe again. Things are now, you know, other things are possible. But the only reason that they are possible, that new ideas, new way of thinking, a new instinct, right? And it's very, very, at its most, not vulnerable, but basic. I guess that's the word I want. At its most basic, right? It's not a developed thought. It's not a developed trajectory. It's just the being in touch with it, seeing the possibility for it to go from being mental to being physical. Interestingly, she's engaging her senses here. You know, there's hope. She's smelling a rose. There's hope. Things are possible. You know, she holds this horn, you know, which is used in place of these swords, this giant thorn. She's in charge of this, right? She's in charge of the things that can feel like they're going to wound us. She's in charge of whether things are wounding or not wounding. There's a sense of autonomy. That's a good word. There's a greater sense of autonomy, right? Now, in order for something that is fresh to know where it needs to go next, there is always a period of gestation. Okay, so we have one major this week, and it is the Hanged Woman. There she is in her cocoon, and she's seeing the world from a completely different perspective. Okay, so whatever this is, whatever this process is or has been, and I'm going to say for a lot of you and for a lot of us, there's been a lot of challenge here, right? There's been some difficulty. Honoring yourself has meant walking away from things. It's left you feeling stripped naked, vulnerable, disempowered, and in a place where you've got to reach, like, what next? What can I do next? Or, please help me, please help me, right? And the process of that is, and this is often the way it is because there is no word for that, right? There is often no word for the shift that takes place between this impulse and this outcome. Sometimes it's a matter of we go to bed and it's there. Sometimes it's an articulated thought. Often it's not either. There's just some energy that shifts. And we know that there's something different, something new is possible. I'm going to say that this is a new state of mind, a new perspective. I mean, she's up high, she's looking out, she's closed her eyes, she's taken in the horizon. I'm going to say it's about perspective. Yeah, a new perspective, which impacts the state of mind, the ability to be in the body, etc. Okay, and it's going to require some gestation. It's going to require some stillness, some quiet. There will be many of us who are not going to move. We're not going to go anywhere. It may be through like not being employed and not being able to leave the house. It may be through being unable to leave the house, or to be able to move forward with things. But this definitely signifies to me that a time of quiet and some spaciousness and self-care. And just the ability to recognize it's okay not to have to move forward instantly with everything. Our society will tell us that the minute that you get this, there's a new fresh impulse. You better follow up on it. Start making your plans, start doing this, start doing that, do, make, and so forth. But no one will ever tell you like, okay, you know what? Sometimes when that happens, you just have to be for a little while. We're not seeing any fire here this week. There's no fire. It's water and air. And even where there's air, we still, as I pointed out before, we've got, this is still very dominantly water, in the Six of Swords, right? There's emotion that leads us to what's happening. And this is just the interrelatedness of the way swords and cups work. We're looking at basically earth and water and air, but there's no fire. So movement does not feel, movement forward, movement into the world, into space, doesn't feel like it's happening just yet, okay? But through being willing to let things be suspended a little bit longer, that suspension, it feels to me with the Six of Cups, it doesn't feel like we go from this to this. It feels like these two are a combination, right? That as we hang upside down in that cocoon, our own pearl of wisdom, our own, something in us opens up and reveals like an inner treasure. Yeah, I mean, to some, you know, for some of us, it's to a greater or lesser extent. It could be something very simple. I think for some of you, I dare say there could be a pretty remarkable revelation there. Um, it could also be, you know, this is the Six of Cups. It could also just be a stripping away, right? Remember when I said that, like, a lot of the heaviness and the weight of carrying all of that stuff is being dropped and stripped away, because throughout the week we're coming back to some simplicity. You know, that may be what that is. You know, through it could be that our priorities shift, you know, through that stillness and through the inability to necessarily move forward. We can see what it is that needed to be dropped and let go of, and we can move forward from a place of greater simplicity. Also, greater balance, right? Sometimes that continued space of not moving forward, but being willing to endure uh, things as they are, that stasis, right? This is a desperate move. At the beginning here, we want to escape stagnation, but we're actually being asked to remain, you know, to continue to endure it, but to endure it from a much higher place. We're asking, you know, the universe is wanting us to transform. And through that transformation, to find that treasure. You know, I'm also looking at this Daughter of Swords. You know, we're in the Pentacles pile. Through the senses and through regrounding our bodies in the senses, it opens up new mind space. It clears the mind. Through a clearer mind, we have a greater potential to understand this stasis, this sense of stagnation, you know, from a completely different place. Rather than something we're desperate to get rid of and move away from, we might instead be able to find the way to be with it, right? And the being with it allows for this to occur. The key, however, as I said before, just to kind of summarize what we're looking at here in a way that hopefully makes some sense, you know, that need to continue to move away from stagnation. You know, this could also just be the desperation to leave the house, right? I bet our homes, a lot of us, you know, the home is feeling full of baggage at this point, which is understandable. So finding the way to, you know, leave the stagnation behind, leave some emotional baggage behind, etc., requires us to be back in touch with the wisdom of the body, especially the wisdom of the heart space, you know, which is a uniquely feminine principle. Yeah. And as we do that, we're recognizing, you know, there may be a lot of unmet needs, a lot of fear, a lot of vulnerability. Yeah, maybe some desperation, but either way, it's going to ask for us to go from that place of vulnerability to reach out into that void, reach out to, you know, whatever the higher power is, whatever it is that you reach out to when you feel vulnerable, naked, and afraid. That is what you're being asked to do. And it's the doing of this that creates, you know, that switches on the light for us so that we realize where we stand. We recognize where we stand, that we can be empowered to be inside of our own bodies, stand on our own 2 feet, and literally re-embody, right? And by re-embodying, the mind is changed. There's freshness there. So instead of being in the stagnation in a way that's unhelpful, we can find a way to be with it that is, you know, in a way that's transformative, restores a sense of balance, and means that our time spent here is not wasted in a way that we might think it is. Okay? Even if you feel, I'm going to say, let's go out on a limb. Get it? Out on a limb. Haha. No, not the time for humor. Okay. But you know, by spending this time here, even if we feel or we experience this as being nothing more than a pile of shit that is not helpful, and leaves us feeling like crap, I feel personally that we're being asked to recognize that that is not the case. That actually from this, there is a rebalancing in each of us that will take place. So that even as things are being stripped away or stripped back, there is wisdom, there is purity, there is beauty, there is something precious waiting for us in the depths of that we will come back into touch with very deeply. We may not see this week, right? We may not see this immediately. This is something that may be unfolding. But it's a process that we can trust. So that said, I should probably put these back out, and I'm going to shuffle our Red Seeds deck and come back with a card. Okay, so this is fascinating. So this is our Red Seeds card this week. It is I Am the Way. And as we look at the back here, it's Hecate Phosphorus. And it's from the Red Seeds deck 1 because it has a Rumi quote. And the quote from Rumi is, "I know you're tired, but come, this is the way." The challenge is indecision. The gift is the way forward. We will find her at the crossroads in our lives. And that's absolutely what's being, highlighted here. Even though we're not seeing a physical crossroads, we're definitely seeing some crossroads. Hecate Phosphorus is the triple goddess and the bringer of light, which emanates from the star of Venus. Her dark, magical, and wandering presence guards entrances, gateways, and the space between the light and the dark, which is so cool. Because we have, this space here between dark and light. Right at the center of the reading this week. She lights up our path so we can see more clearly, which I feel like is definitely the Daughter of Swords, right? The way ahead in our lives can often seem obscured or complicated. It is said that if you can clearly see the road ahead, then you are probably on someone else's path, which is so true. Crossroads invite choice, but the stories and mythology warns us not to linger too long before we make our decisions. There may not be a right or wrong way ahead, just a divergence of paths in our lives. Find the light and trust your intuition. Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah, it says not to linger too long before we make our decisions. I don't know that for this situation that may or may not be true. Because what we're seeing here is a lot of stillness, a lot of needing to remain still, of desiring movement, right? Of desiring ways of going forward. Pardon all of the rocks and stones here that are my friends who like to come and hang out. We've got this desire to move on. Right? But we're not, there's nothing allowing that yet. It's just not time yet. But we're being told, that there may not be a right or wrong way ahead, just a divergence of paths in our lives. Find the light, trust your intuition, right? So yeah, we will know more about how to move forward because of what we're doing at this moment. Yeah. I was about to say it's a long reading this week, but screw it. If it's already long, we may as well. I'm going to pull a card from the beautiful Virgins and Madonnas deck by Melissa Lucia, who, as many of you know, I just adore. And, I will also come back with where did it go? Card from the Sovereign Oracle. Okay, wow, this was really cool. So look at that. All of that pink. in this sort of Guadalupe, and then the green of her cloak and the green of this Thrive card. Man, these two decks read so beautifully together. And I know that Melissa and Theresa never intended for these to go together, but they just do. Sometimes that's, just like, the deck creators here did not intend these two decks to go together, but good heavens, they really go. They really work. So thrive, 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 thrive. Imagine an easeful and prosperous outcome. Create a pathway to resources that support your vision. Release any tendency to assume a struggle is necessary. Wow. Wow. And I love too the way that this Madonna really mirrors, the heart space. When we fold hands and do prayer, prayer hands in front of the heart, it's bringing together all parts of ourselves, the division, it's bringing things into unity, and in the heart space. So yeah, maybe, here in Six of Swords, who's your goddess? Call out to her. Draw her in, because she will enable you to find that way to thrive. What a beautiful, wow, such beautiful cards this week. I might have to take a picture and put it on Instagram. I haven't been as attentive to social media because everything is so digital right now, and I get really digitally burnt out. Really, really digitally burnt out, more than I normally would. But yeah, this could be necessary. All right, my loves. Yeah, as always, I'm digitally burned out. A little digitally burned out, but I'm here, and I'm sending all of you tremendous love and tremendous wishes for well-being. I more than anything, I wish for you that you feel well, that you are well, and that things in your life can be brought into a place of balance and ease. So take care this week. Yeah, I send you tons of love. See you next time. Bye.